Hola a todos. Esto es la lección sobre el subjuntivo del presente, the present subjunctive. Okay, the subjunctive. Up until now, you've been using verbs in the indicative mood, which is we used to talk about facts or actual events, things that actually occur. But the subjunctive, okay, here's an example of the indicative. Aprendo francés para mi viaje. I learned French for my trip. But Spanish has another way of using verbs. It's called the subjunctive. And we use it to say what one person does or doesn't want, tell, suggest, or recommend someone else do. Now, even though, just because we tell them that we don't want them to do it, or tell them not to do it, or suggest it, or even recommend, even though we do those things, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to do it. So it interjects an element of doubt. A sentence that includes a subjunctive form has two parts, two clauses, connected by the word que, which means that. For example, quiero que tú respires lentamente. Here's your first phrase, quiero. Here's your connector, que, your conjunction. Tú respires is your second clause. Notice that it also has a second subject, a different subject. I want you to breathe slowly. Now, I want you to breathe slowly, but that doesn't mean you're going to do it. Sugiero que bebas agua antes de correr. Sugiero, I suggest, que, here's our connector, bebas, this is the to form, agua antes de correr. I suggest that you drink water before running. Well, I can suggest all day long, but that doesn't mean that you're actually going to listen to me. El entrenador exige que los atletas estiren los músculos. Here's your first phrase, clause, the el entrenador exige. Here's your connector, que. Here's your second, the beginning of your second clause, los atletas estiren. The trainer demands that the students stretch their muscles. Well, I demand that you don't talk while I'm talking, but yet it still occurs. You can also suggest more general or impersonal ideas using expressions such as es necesario, es bueno, and es importante, followed by que in a form of the present subjunctive. Once again, I can say something's necessary, or it's good that, or it's important, but that doesn't mean that it's actually going to occur. Es necesario que hagas ejercicio. It's necessary that you do exercise. Well, yeah, if it is, or you're going to be quite round. But that doesn't mean you're necessarily going to do it. Es importante que los jóvenes coman bien. It's important that the young people eat well. Well, yeah, it is, but you still hit the vending machines. Note that the subjunctive sentences have two parts, each with a different subject connected by the word que. That's very important. The first clause is ella sugiere. The second is que yo aprenda francés. First clause, que. Okay, ella sugiere. This is an independent clause. It has a subject and a verb. Que, there's your connector. And here's the dependent clause. It can't stand on its own. Yo aprenda francés, because it begins with the separator word, que yo aprenda francés. That's a fragment. Okay? Here's your indicative verb. That's in the present tense. Here's your subjunctive verb in the present subjunctive. The first subject uses the present indicative verb, which is your recommendation, suggestion, etc., plus que. And then the second subject uses the present subjunctive verb, what should but may not happen. Verbs like that are often followed by que plus the subjunctive. Okay, decir is one of them. Insistir in is another. Necesitar is another. Permitir, another one. Preferir is also one. Many times these are followed by the subjunctive. Prohibir, querer, recomendar, sugerir. All of those may have a subjunctive after them. We form the present subjunctive of most verbs the same way we formed the negative to commands. Okay? We drop the O of the present tense indicative yo, the yo form of the verb, and add the subjunctive ending. So what exactly are the subjunctive endings? Well, AR verbs, we're going to switch to E's. Es, hemos, en. So for ER and IR verbs, well, what do you think? If it's going to be the opposite, it's going to be as, amos, an. Saltar, AR verb, right? Salte, saltes, salte. Saltemos and salten. These are the present subjunctive forms. Conocer, conozca. Remember the yo form of conocer is conozco. Drop the O, add the opposite ending of the stem. So conozca, conozcas. Notice how it keeps the yo form all the way through. Conozca, conozcamos, conozcan. Decir. Now remember this is a go-go verb. So the yo form is digo. So the yo form of decir in the present subjunctive would be diga, digas, diga, digamos, digan. The present subjunctive has the same spelling changes and irregular yo form changes that are used with the negative to commands and with the usted, ustedes commands. So in negative commands, the irregular verbs that add a G to the stem in present tense yo form also have a G in the present subjunctive. Caerse, decir, hacer, poner, salir, tener, traer. All of those are going to have a G. Hacer is going to become hago. And then subjunctive haga. Tener, the yo form is tengo. The subjunctive form, present subjunctive, is tenga. Also, verbs that end in car, gar, zar have a spelling change in order to maintain the original sound. You should remember that from last year. Buscar, in the yo form, busco. Subjunctive, busque. QU, remember C's go to QU. Pagar, the present tense yo is pago, but this is a gar verb, so it's going to go to pague. Cruzar, the yo form, present tense is cruzo, but to maintain the sound, it's going to become cruce. Okay, so this is something new. I hope you took good notes, and we'll discuss it more in class this week. Thanks for listening.